Now, on this one, you have a bit more going on. So you have to be a bit more careful with how you handle this. One thing that's going on here is that we have a change in amplitude. So let's tackle that first. So A is going to be equal to 5/2 again. What kind of graph are we going to be dealing with? The sine function, the sine wave. But instead of stopping at 1, it's going to stop at 5/2 or 2.5 and minus 5/2 or minus 2.5. So those are going to be the limiting lines for the amplitude. So everything that happens here will be limited by those dashed lines. Now, let's see what happens with the period. In order to get the period, you have to do 2 pi over k. So 2 pi over k, considering that this is your k value. So k is equal to 3/4. And you're gonna proceed to perform the division. So 2 pi, you can use the 2 pi over 1 if you feel more comfortable, and 3/4. So you're gonna end up with 4 times 2, that is 8 pi over 3. So notice that we are not dealing in halves or fourths anymore. We have thirds, but that doesn't really make much of a difference. So the period is basically 8 pi over 3. Now let's see what happens next. So originally the sine starts here and ends at 2 pi, but now we're told that we have to go all the way to 8 pi over 3. So pi is basically 3 pi over 3. 2 pi is going to be 6 pi over 3. Now, this one, if you have 3 pi and you want to change it to thirds, it's going to be 9 pi over 3. So it's 1/3 before getting there. So let's try to figure that out. So this is 1/3, 2/3, 3/3, 4, 5/3, 6, 7, 8/3. Remember that you need 3 pieces inside of each unit, inside of each pi. So pi over 3, 2 pi over 3, 3 pi over 3. So that means that right here we have 8 pi over 3. So if we didn't have a phase shift, the graph would end up here, right there. And you would just sketch a graph in between those boundaries. But we also have a phase shift. And the phase shift is found by doing this whole thing and setting that equal to 0. Or you could factor it, but let's try this out. So if you do 3/4 of x plus pi over 4, and you set that equal to 0, the phase shift is not as straightforward as before because we have a k multiplying. So that's 3/4 of x is equal to minus pi over 4. So we already know that this is going to end up moving to the left. Now, if you're dividing by 4, you're going to end up multiplying by 4. So that's 3x is equal to minus 4 pi over 4. You're going to cancel out the 4th. And this is going to end up as 3x equals minus pi. And then just solve for x, ending up as minus pi over 3. So what that means is that this is going to be shifting pi over 3 units to the right. This is a sine wave. So instead of starting here, and ending here, this is to be shifted pi over 3 units to the left. So if I didn't have a phase shift, it would start here and here, exactly at the middle of my box. I would have another x-intercept. In between, I would have the maxima, and in between, I would have the minimum. And the graph would go something like this. But because we have the phase shift and it's minus pi over 3, so the phase shift is minus pi over 3, and an amplitude is of 5/2. So the 5/2 is already taken care of, and we also covered that 2 rectangles is pi over 3. So 2 rectangles are the distance to move to the left. So that's 2 rectangles, 2 rectangles, 2 rectangles, and 2 rectangles. If you wanna do this, you would be moving the same box to the left. And now let's sketch the final graph. So it would go something like this. And now we can get rid of all the unnecessary intermediate steps. Just get the green graph over there. So if you notice, this graph has all the required elements. It has an amplitude that is going from the midline. So the midline is this one. So the distance from the midline either to the maxima or to the minima is simply 5/2 or 2.5. It has a phase shift of over here. We had it here, minus pi over 3. Remember, you had to set this entire thing equal to 0 to find the actual phase shift. So minus pi over 3. And the period affected and changed into, let me write it here, the period was 8 pi over 3. Some of you might be asking, well, but isn't the period the value where it ends? Well, in this case, the period is from the starting value of the cycle. It starts here and it ends here. So if we were to measure that distance, it would be a distance from here to here that would coincide to 8 pi over 3.